No. I won't be cut off. It seems someone's trying to cut us off. Um, I say ignore likes, ignore comments, ignore whatever. That's not why we built the platform. That's not what drives us. And here's one of the things. Um, we we are 1.2 billion viewers strong at sometimes. So yeah, we do tend to seem like a threat, right? It's taken some convincing for us to show ourselves as a progressive threat, a threat that isn't against change, but that wants to allow everybody to embrace it. And that is the focus of information redistribution. I don't mind being criticized, say on a scholarly level or certain ways of execution, but the approach is completely different. It took some time, but it's a completely different approach. Where I'm supposedly biased, that's not the case. I think if you're a shepherd, you want to protect your flock. You would literally put your life on the line to protect your flock, even if it's because of wolves in disguise. And that's why I might tend to throw off a negative reaction, and that is not toward general people who are trying to understand and who are trying to partake and who are definitely attributing and attribute a lot. And I mean a lot. I mean, from being seen as some sort of a scam to legitimizing ourselves. We made ourselves legitimate. We didn't ask for validation. We pushed through. And every time I sort of, try to waver and, negative comments about what, this is useless, what's this for, and so forth and so forth. That has been what drives me. What drives me can be one person, it can be two, it can be three. It doesn't really matter. It's about that small contribution, and that small contribution manifests itself in what I have said has been information redistribution. This hasn't been to distance myself from most other projects or organizations we've inspired, and to say no, far off, go away, or you're not a part of us, where us. And that hasn't been it. What it has been is to legitimize them and say what they are doing is taking information, some are turning it into data, some are translating that data into something that can be consumed by people who don't have the proper background. And most of all, why it has had connotations of a youthful message is because the youth has to deal with most of the consequences. We have to deal with most of the consequences, but not everybody is raised the same. Not everybody is raised to see beyond tomorrow's debt, the next day's debt, or to say, okay, no, you have this, so you don't understand our plight. None of that has manifested itself truthfully, and where it has, I've made it a point to squash it, and that's what I do. Martin Luther King said it: if a two-legged dog bites me, guess what? Whether it's a two-legged dog or a four-legged dog, my reaction is the same. It's a beautiful concept to always say turn the other cheek, right? But sometimes some people are hit on the same cheek a lot of times that turning the other cheek would basically be relieving pain, and we don't want that. We have made an impact wherever we have landed, be it physically, be it through our mediums, platforms, our allies, and all of the proxies that are there, and they are there, right? They need their own protection, and they get it, right? Because we don't want to endanger someone based on their location, because one of the things I understand is that different environments mean different reactions, and a lot of people react differently to certain things. I know this for a fact because I got heckled and picketed because of certain things I said by people who didn't make it a point to actually try and understand what I was inferring, try to actually delve into what I was inferring, try to find out what this information meant. The only thing that was seen was a power tug of war, which isn't the case. We can brag about all sorts of things, but I personally just want to applaud the journey, how far we have come. We have come a very long way, from ladies who felt they need to look a particular way, they need to show cleavage, beauty, ABC in order to become a part of the core dynamics, to people being themselves and actually embracing themselves and saying, you know what, I can actually be a part of that. And it's easy to access. And that's where we're not done. Access. We are still working on access. And I'll be the first to say this has been a ripple effect. But it cannot be contained. It cannot be contained by people who merely see it as a disaster without even understanding it, right? So that's why it doesn't stop, and it hasn't stopped, right? In my own way, I'm trying to apologize for my attitude. Sometimes I can be moody, sometimes when I see a mole being planted or a weed being planted within our crops, I react, and most people don't see it as such, but that's what it is. And who would have thought? It's 2016, it's nearly 2017, right? And still, right, we haven't set out to entertain, we haven't set out to be overly enjoying, or joyful. We have tried to simplify a basic fact, and we have used a tool and tools that were overlooked, and we changed the narrative, and we used the platform. That's why I said don't mind the whole followers, likes, comment things. um, the real statistics, are on the ground. Hmm? They have shown themselves, and I'm really proud of that. And where else do we need to go? For example, our message of being worried about the planet, climate control is now being diminished, right? And it took a lot of hard work for that to come out as a message. And we're definitely going to come full frontal with the things that matter, not only for today or just tomorrow, the next 5 years, the next 15 years, the next 20 years, the next 25 years, not just for our sakes. Remember, we consider the elders in our communities valuable. We understand that age doesn't make everybody wise, and not everybody can become a scholar or an intellectual. We understand that a degree doesn't necessarily mean this person is well accomplished or smarter than the others or better than. We completely understand all of these things, but we don't want to encourage participation for everybody in whichever ways they feel they can impact their communities. And that's how the connections work. That's how it becomes a global community. Because at the end of the day, we start seeing the little things, how they're alike, how they are not so different, how language is merely language merely means you might not understand what the other person is saying. Cultures can be different in how they are executed, but cultures are usually the same, you know, with the impact that they have to humanity. And some cultural practices are bad. And as much as some people don't want to hear that, we will say it. I mean, I literally sat down with a guy who said, of course, he would have to have intercourse with his cousin first before any other guy gets there because he's the uncle, so he's entitled. I've heard that. Women being demeaned. I was outside because I got help where someone thought I shouldn't get help. He said no, he's cursed at women and are helping him. So yeah, I did spit at his feet. The photo is somewhere out there. I don't know who it was sent to. But that was because what he said I didn't agree with. And he's very lucky I didn't slap him. Right, a few years ago I would have slapped him. If some people haven't come and calmed my mind in certain aspect. My question is always, I have 3 sisters. How do I want men to treat them? And in turn, how am I treating someone else's sister? This does not mean every woman is a saint, right? And equality is when men, women, boys, girls can come together for common causes. That's equality. Before money matters, social interaction matters. So I want to salute you all for braving the storms. It's been difficult for some people. I know this for a fact. And you know, we're global, whether they like it or not, whether they believe it or not. Um, you know, we continue.